Hey, Dr. Ray here, founder of the Learning Liaisons, and welcome. Welcome to our Wednesday evening math sessions featuring our math specialist and your math specialist, Amy Sink. In the next hour, Amy has put together a sample set of approximately 10 practice questions that run the gamut from kindergarten levels all the way through 12th grade high school math. Now, I know you are attending here, watching this, and you're like, well, I'm doing elementary in Texas, or I'm doing elementary in Praxis, or I'm doing high school math in Florida, or middle school math in Texas. And what's going on here, right? So we're doing these sessions to help you guys out and provide you with different ways to look at problems and to build that confidence. Because here at the Learning Liaisons, one of our major objectives is to clear up the testing confusion, give you the support you deserve in order to nail your exam and be done with it. So our focus is on math. Now, are we going to be just focusing on high school math the whole hour or elementary? No. We've got a mixture here. Now, Amy's going to go through a bunch of problems. You're going to have the opportunity to download those as a PDF. So when Amy starts, just pay attention to the screen. We're going to have a message there for you so you can download the PDF in case we don't get to all the problems or want to practice on your own. She's going to do her best to go across all different grade levels. If you have a question, you feel free to ask Amy your question as well. We're teachers here too, so we can multitask. Our job is to make sure that we give you what you need to be successful. But if you're like, dang it, I didn't have any questions this week, don't worry, we'll be here next Wednesday night as well. So bring those questions with you if you want, and you could ask Amy away. Because here at the Learning Liaisons, we pride ourselves in providing you guys the support you need to pass your exam. So whether you're our Florida teachers here with our FTCE exams, our national exam Praxis peeps, big shout out to you guys out there too, and especially our newcomers to the Learning Liaisons brand, TExES Prep. So whether you're elementary, middle school, and high school, we've got your back. So sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, get ready to learn some math, and stay tuned for the end because I'm going to jump back on to close this out. And I got a special surprise for you guys who really want to get the real deal prep and get everything you need to be successful and practice, clear up that confusion, and pass your certification exam on the next attempt. So, welcome to the Learning Liaisons community. Always remember, it's when you pass, not if you pass. So without further ado, let's turn it over to the reason why you're here, Amy. You with us, Amy? Let's get going.
Hey, everybody. I'm back. Last week, you had the pleasure of having our other math specialist with you, Priya, but I am back and ready to do some math with you guys. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping things. If you could comment in the comment box and let me know where you're from, what test you're prepping for, and what is your favorite dish at Thanksgiving dinner. And maybe your family does a normal Thanksgiving dinner, and maybe your family does a non-traditional Thanksgiving dinner. What is your favorite dish at Thanksgiving dinner? Because next week is Thanksgiving. Some people have the whole week off. Some people have just a couple of days off. So your name, where you're from, not your name, where you're from, what test you're prepping for, and what is your favorite dish at Thanksgiving. I'm from Central Florida. I am a math coach here in Central Florida. And I'm not prepping for a test, but I'm here to help everybody, no matter what math test they're prepping for, prep for that test. And my favorite Thanksgiving dish is probably the stuffing or the pecan pie. It's a toss-up. And I'm actually gluten-free, so it's got to be the Trader Joe's gluten-free stuffing. So good. So with that said, I am going to get started with the first problem that we have tonight. It's a leftover problem from 2 weeks ago. I always like to make sure that regardless of what we've got going on, I go over all the problems that you can download. So I'm going to go over the first problem that was a leftover from 2 weeks ago. So here we go. Welcome, Yanira from Palm Beach. Welcome, Sean. Welcome, Vicky from Maryland. Mashed potatoes with gravy. Yes, I love mashed potatoes. Stuffing's still my favorite, but I love mashed potatoes. All right, let's make this a little bigger. Steven drives 15 miles per hour slower than Jamie. With 3 more hours of driving time, Steven travels a total of 350 miles, compared to Jamie, who travels 300 miles. At what speed is Jamie driving? Now, this question will likely only pop up on a middle school or a high school exam. So 5 through 9, 6 through 12, and you're going to see why in a minute. However, my GK, my Praxis core people, even my elementary people, just knowing and understanding how to interpret word problems is important. And GK and Praxis core, you guys have to know distance equals rate times time. So it's important that you guys pay attention to the first part of this for sure. So what do we know? When we solve problems like this, we've got to break the problem down. What do we know? We know Stephen is driving 15 miles per hour slower than Jamie. We also know that Stephen has 3 more hours of driving time, and he's traveling a total of 350 miles. Compared to Jamie, who's traveling 300 miles, and we want to know what speed is Jamie driving. That's a lot of information here. Welcome, Missy, middle grades math, awesome. So what do we have here? We really have distance equals rate times time, distance equals rate times time, but we've got 2 distance equals rate times times because we've got Stephen and we have Jamie. So let's define both of them. Let's go Stephen right here, and let's go Jamie right here. Now, when I walk through these problems, I walk through them slower than I normally would solve them because I'm trying to give you a really large scope of how to understand these problems. So this is not how slow I would solve a problem if I was actually solving it on an exam. I just want to give you as much background knowledge you need to be able to be successful with problems like this. So what do we know about Stephen and Jamie? Well, we know Stephen has a distance, a rate, and a time. And we know Jamie is going to have a distance, a rate, and a time as well. Now let's go ahead and define their distance, rates, and times. How far is Stephen traveling? Stephen is traveling a total of 350 miles. So Stephen's distance is 350, while Jamie's distance is 300. Those are the most straightforward pieces of this problem that we've got. Now let's dig in a little deeper. What is Stephen's rate and what is Jamie's rate? Well, we know Stephen is driving 15 miles per hour slower than Jamie. So if Jamie's rate is just R, then Stephen's rate is going to be 15 miles an hour slower than R. So his rate is going to be R minus 15, or Jamie's rate minus 15. What do we also know? We know that Stephen is driving 3 more hours than Jamie. So if Jamie drives T hours, then Stephen is going to drive T plus 3 hours because he has 3 more hours of driving time than Jamie. Are you following me? All right, let's keep going. Hey, Kelsey, yes, I will post that link here in 1 minute, okay? Let me just get through part of this problem and then I'll post it, absolutely. So we have Jamie as 300 rate and time, and then we have Stephen's rate and time is dependent upon Jamie's. So his rate is 15 miles less than Jamie, and his time is 3 more hours than Jamie. So let's go ahead and write our distance equals rate times time. 350 equals rate times time. And then over here, we have distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time. What am I going to do now? Now I need to solve Jamie's equation for a variable that I can then plug into Stephen's. This is kind of where the GK Praxis core splits off from the middle school and high school exams. So this right here is where that juxtaposition happens. Let's keep going. So I'm going to divide both sides by t. So I have r equals 300 divided by t. Now I can use the substitution property. Everybody needs to know how to use substitution. And substitute 300 divided by t in for r, because r equals that. Hey, Cynthia, how are you? So I'm going to carry my problem over here. 350 equals, I'm going to put this in for r, 300 divided by t minus 15 times t plus 3. Why did I do that? Because I can't solve an equation with two variables. I gotta get down to one variable. So that's what I did. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in a little bit for us so we can see what we're working with. But now I have a t in a denominator, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna multiply this entire equation by t. 350 times t is going to be 350 t. 300 divided by t times t, those t's are going to cancel out. So I'm left with 300 minus 15t. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause. I'm actually going to not multiply everything by t yet. I'm going to distribute first. I just realized that by doing that, that's not really going to help me. So I am going to go ahead and distribute this first. So I have 350 equals, when I multiply this first term times this, I'm just going to get 300 plus 900 divided by t. 15 times t is minus 15t. Negative 15 times 3 is negative 45. Now I'm going to multiply everything times t. So I get 350t equals 300t plus 900 minus 15t squared minus 45t. Why did I multiply everything by t? Because I needed to get the t out of my denominator. Following? All right, let's keep going. Now I'm going to have to go up here. So I have 350t. Actually, I'm going to lasso this, copy, and paste it up here. All right. So this right here is an equal sign. So I'm going to move everything over to the right side of the equation. So I'm going to get minus 350t minus 350t. So I have 0 equals negative 50t plus 900 minus 15t squared minus 45t. Why did I do that? Because I know that this is a quadratic equation. And so by knowing that this is a quadratic equation, I need to get it equal to 0 so that I can factor and solve the quadratic. So now I'm going to simplify this quadratic. 0 equals, combine these two items. Negative 50 minus 45 is going to be negative 95. So I have negative 15t squared minus 95t plus 900. I'm going to actually see if I can divide everything by an item. So I'm going to see if I can divide everything by 15. 900 divided by 15. That works. 95 divided by 15. That does not work, but I can divide everything by 5. Definitely. So I'm going to divide 5 out just to make my numbers a little bit more friendly. So 0 equals negative 15 divided by negative 5 is 3t squared. 95 divided by 5 is going to be a positive 19t because I'm dividing by negative 5. And 900 divided by negative 5 is negative 180. What am I going to do now? Now I have to solve this quadratic and get the zeros. What does that even mean? I have to factor it or I have to use the quadratic formula. I'm going to use the quadratic formula. negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. If you're not familiar with that, you need to reach out to me if you're taking the high school test especially. So I'm going to fill this in. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. I'm going to go ahead and quickly figure this out. 19 times 19 gives me 361. So negative 19 plus or minus the square root of 361 plus 180 times 12, 2,160, all divided by 6. Add that to 361, and I get negative 19 plus the square root of 2,521 divided by 6, and negative 19 minus the square root of 2,521 divided by 6. I split that off because I have a plus and a minus. So I'm going to take the square root of that, which is not pretty, and that's okay. And I'm going to subtract 19 and divide by 6, and I get 5.2. Now I'm going to do the square root of 2,521 minus 19 divided by 6, and I get negative 11. What does all of that mean? All of that means is that I just solved for t. And time is either 5.2 or it's negative 11.5. And I can't have a negative amount of time. So my time is going to be 5.2. And now I need to figure out what speed is Jamie driving, because all I have found so far is my time. So I'm going to take that time, which is t, plain t, not Steven's time, that's plain t, which is Jamie's time. And I'm going to plug it back into my 300 equals rate times time, divide both sides by 5.2, and I get R equals 57.7, which is D. Whoo, that was a lot of work for one problem. All right. I saw someone asked for the link to these slides. Absolutely. Thank you, Kelsey, for that reminder. We used to do it through a text message, but we are not going to do that anymore. We're going to do it through a link. So in this comment box, you will find the link to the blank slides that we are going over tonight. You can copy and paste it into your browser, and that will give you access to the PDF of all of these blank problems so that you can follow along, or you can use them in your spare time later and solve these later. All right, let's move on to the next problem. The store is having an end of year sale. Buy one, get one, 40% off. Jamie decides to purchase 2 pairs of shoes, each originally costing $52.99. If tax is 6.5%, how much is Jamie's total bill going to cost? This problem is perfect K through 12. Everybody needs to know how to do percentages, multiplication of percentages, taxes, and interpreting these kinds of problems. So let's get started. The store is having an end of year sale. Buy one, get one 40% off. So I have to buy one full price item, and then I get a 40% off item, and that will give me my cost before tax. I like to map my problem and my thinking out like this because it helps me keep track of what I'm trying to accomplish. So let's keep going. Jamie decides to purchase 2 pairs of shoes, each originally costing $52.99. So if she's buying 2 pairs of shoes, she's going to get one at full price and one at 40% off, and then we can find the cost before tax, because then it says if tax is 6.5%, how much is her total bill? So we know that she's going to buy one pair of shoes for full price and one pair of shoes for 40% off. Now, if you multiply $52.99 times 40%, what is that going to give you? That's going to give you the percentage off, not the percentage that you're actually paying. So you can do one of two things. We have two ways we can solve this. The first way you can do it is you can multiply $52.99 times 0.40. Why 0.40? Because when I convert a percent into a decimal, I find my imaginary decimal point or my actual decimal point if it was like 5.5. And I move it 2 spaces to the left. So I get 0.40. If it was 5.5% and I needed to convert that, I already have a decimal place. And so I'm going to move it 2 spaces to the left. And so that would give me 0.055. But moving on. If I do $52.99 times 0.40, I'm going to use my calculator for time's sake and accuracy's sake. However, not everybody will have a calculator for this problem. Some people will, some people will not. If you're taking GK math, you definitely will have a calculator. If you're taking K6, you will not have a calculator. So just know your test and whether you will get a calculator or not. So $52.99 times 0.40 gives me $21.19, but there's a 6 there, and I'm going to keep it. That's my discount. Then I have to do $52.99 minus my discount, and I get $31.79 with a 1/4 of a cent. I don't ever like to round until the very end of the problem for accuracy's sake. So that's one way that I could find my 40% off item. Another way I could find my 40% off item is by multiplying my whole by the percentage that I'm actually paying. So if it's 40% off, what percent am I actually paying? I'm paying 60%. So if I multiply $52.99 times 60%, I get $31.79 with a fraction of a cent. How cool is that? So you can do it either way. If I add those together, I get $84.78 with a fraction of a cent. That's my cost before tax. That does not include my 6.5% of tax. Now I have to go ahead and add that 6.5% of tax. Hey, Cynthia, you said the video and then the comment cut off. So let me know if there's a problem so that I can try to fix it. So now I'm going to move on to my tax part. In this case, I have to multiply it by 6.5 and add, because it's not that I'm paying a part and not paying a part. The 6.5 has to be added. So I'm going to multiply $84 and by 6.5%, which when I convert that to a decimal is going to be 0.065. And I get 5.51096. That's my tax amount. Is anybody else having a frozen video problem? I'm not showing any errors on my end, but I want to see if anybody else is having that problem. Cynthia, if you're continuing to have that problem, maybe refresh your browser. I'm not sure, but if everybody else is having that problem, we need to troubleshoot. All right, I'm going to add my tax to $84.78, and I get $90.29, which is C. Excellent. Cynthia, you can also, it looks like Vicky is not having that issue. Maybe you can join on YouTube or one of our other Facebook pages, or like I said, just refresh and see if that helps. I'm so sorry you're having frozen problems. All right, so C, $90.29. Excellent work. Ooh, I love these problems. All right, what is the unit digit of 34 to the 26th power minus 21? All right, high school teachers, this one's for you. But I am going to scale some of this back for everybody so we all can get something out of this problem. The unit digit. What do we know about the vocabulary word unit? Unit means one. So if I'm looking at a number, that's a number in the millions. The unit digit is going to be this one right here. It's your ones place. Your ones place and your unit digit are going to be the same. Then we have our tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, billions, and it keeps going. And then we have tenths, hundredths, thousands. So we're looking for the unit digit of 34 to the 26th power minus 21. However, if I punch in 34 times 34 and I do that 26 times, I'm going to end up with an E error, which just means that number is way too long for this poor calculator to be able to handle. So that said, we have to have a strategy to solve this. Here's what's really awesome about exponents. Here's what's really awesome about them. They follow a cyclical pattern. So if I have 34 to the first power, I know that that equals 34. If I have 34 to the second power, I'm going to do 34 times 34, and that equals 1,156. If I have it to the third power, I get 39,304. If I have it to the fourth power, I get 1,336,336. Do you notice a pattern happening yet? I see a pattern. Let's do one more just in case. 34 to the fifth power equals 45,435,435,424. Our unit digit is cyclical, which means it follows a pattern, which is so cool. So it's going 4, 6, 4, 6, 4. What do you think is going to come next? 6. You're absolutely right. And it's going to follow that pattern infinitely. This works for the unit digit of exponents. So it's not always going to be a 2 pattern. It's not always going to go 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6. It might go 4, 3, 7, 4, 3, 7, 4, 3, 7, or it might go 2, 1, 4, 5, 2, 1, 4, 5. So you have to find how that pattern is operating. In this case, it's just back and forth. So what I'm already noticing is that my odd exponents all have a 4 in the unit digit. And my even exponents all have a 6 in the units digit. Well, what kind of number is my exponent? My exponent is even. It's to the 26th power, which means I'm going to have a 6 in my unit digit. Because 34 to the 6th power, it doesn't matter what it's going to be. It's going to have a digit of 6 because this was 4, this is 6. And then to the 7th power is going to be 4. And then to the 8th power is going to be 6. And it's just going to keep continuing. So to the 26th power, my unit digit is going to be 6. But that's not my answer. Because then what are we doing? We're subtracting 21 after that. Well, let's go ahead and do 34 minus 21. What do I get? 34 minus 21 equals 13. Now let's do 1,156 minus 21. That equals 1,135. But do we really care what the odd numbers are minus 21? No, we only care about the even numbers, which is this one, this one, this one, because I have an even number. So let's go ahead and do 1,336,336 minus 21. I get 1,336,315. Do you notice a pattern? My unit digit is always 5. Because if I take this number, 6, and I subtract 1, I get 5 every single time. So the unit digit of this number is going to be 5. How cool is that? That it follows that kind of a pattern. So cool. I love when math works like that. It doesn't always work like that, but in this case it does. All right. A team of students uses flour during a cookie making competition. The graph shows the amount of unused flour in grams since the start of the competition in minutes. Which of the following represents the slope, and what does that value mean? All right, so we know that this is the amount of flour over a certain amount of time. So the graph is showing the amount of unused flour since the competition, and they're making cookies. So let's zoom in on this graph a little bit and just talk about the graph for a second. Again, would I sit here and analyze this graph if I was actually taking an assessment? No, I wouldn't, because I don't have time for that. But it disconnected. It does this at least once a time. I don't know why. So I would not analyze this graph if I was actually taking this test. I would look for the slope, figure it out, and move along. But in this case, I'm going to look at it because it's valuable for all of us. Every single person in this room can definitely benefit from an understanding of a graph. So let's go ahead and take a look at this graph and talk about it. So we see our y-axis is here. We see our y-axis is right here. And we see our x-axis is down here. And they've defined it for us. They've said that the amount of flour is on the left and the time is on the bottom. Why is that? Because the amount of flour is depending upon the time. Based on how much time goes by, it determines how much flour I have left. So what do we notice is happening with this graph? We notice that it's going down. This is going to have a negative slope. How do I know that? Well, I know that because we read words from left to right, so we also read graphs from left to right. So if I'm going to read this graph from left to right, it's going to start up here and go down. So my car is driving down, not up. If it was going like this, then I would be an upward or a positive slope. So I know this is a negative slope, which means if I look at my answer choices, they didn't give us any negative slopes. So we know that in this case, they weren't looking at the negative or the positive. We're just looking at the slope value. So let's keep looking. That said, what is slope? Slope is rise over run, or the change in y over the change in x. Why is it y minus y over x minus x and not x minus x over y minus y? Because rise over run literally means your y's over your x's. The rise is the y value and the run is the x value. And so I've got rise y, run x. So let's take a look at this and figure this out. If I look at this point right here, and then my next point is right here, and my next one is right here, and I'm looking at the points that are like crossing at even places. If I look at those, I'm rising how much? 160 or negative 160, and I'm running 1 minute. I'm rising, sorry, that was not 160, that was 140. 700 minus 560 is 140. Then 560 minus 420 is 140, 1, 140, 1, 140, 1. So my slope is 140 over 1. Why is it not 2 over 1? Because literally, you're right. I'm hopping 2 boxes, but I have to look at my units that are on the left. So because I'm going from 700 to 560, I have to figure out what that gap is right there. So 700 minus 560 is going to be 140. So my slope is 140 over 1. And what does that value mean? That value means the amount of flour they are using per minute. So after 1 minute, they've used 140 grams of flour. And then after 2 minutes, they've used 140 more grams of flour. And after 3 minutes, they've used 140 more grams of flour. What if this problem asked us, which of the following represents the y-intercept? Which of the following represents the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is quite literally where that graph is crossing that y-axis. And that applies for lines, parabolas, circles, hyperbolas, or ellipses, any kind of graph, they have y-intercepts and x-intercepts. So the y-intercept of this graph is going to be 700 because that's where the graph crosses the y-axis. And what does that value mean? That value is the amount of flour they started with. That's how much flour they started the competition with at 0 minutes, and then it declined from there. So while that's not what they asked, it's certainly an important piece of information for all of us to understand because they could ask us any question about this graph. So excellent job interpreting that. Let's go ahead and keep going. If the ratio of the area of similar triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DEF, is 3 to 2, what is the area of triangle DEF? Round to the nearest 10th if necessary. So they're asking us, what are they asking us to find? They're asking us to find the area of triangle DEF, which is this triangle. But we haven't been given any measurements for that triangle. We haven't been given a base. We haven't been given a height. We haven't been given anything other than the ratio of the area of this triangle to this triangle is 3 to 2. So what do I need to do first? I need to find the area of the triangle that I do have information for. Now, I got to know my area formula though. So what is my area formula? What is my area formula for a triangle? Area formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. You're absolutely right. The area formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. If you are taking the GK, you will get a reference sheet. If you are taking other exams, you may or may not get a reference sheet. So you need to know what what exam you're taking and if you get that or not. Area equals 1/2 base times height. So let's take what we know about this triangle, plug it into our area formula, and figure this out. So if area equals 1/2 base times height, area equals 1/2. My base is going to be 7. And is my height going to be 6 or 4? My height is going to be 4. It's very tempting for us to use the 6 because it's part of the triangle, but height has to be straight up and down. When you measure the height of a kid or yourself at the doctor, we are using the straight up and down height. We don't stand at an angle up against the wall. We make sure that our kids have their heels all the way up against the wall when we're measuring how tall they're growing. We do the same thing for triangles. So area is going to equal 1/2. 7 times 4 is 28, and half of 28 is 14. So the area of this triangle is 14. What am I going to do with that information now? Well, I know that the ratio of the areas is 3:2. So if the ratio of the areas is 3:2, and I know the area of triangle ABC, I can plug that into a second equivalent ratio. Why did I do 14 first? Because they told us the ratio of the area of triangle ABC and DEF is 3:2. Because they listed ABC first, that means that this is triangle ABC's ratio, and this is the part of the ratio that belongs to triangle DEF. Therefore, this is going to be triangle ABC, and this is going to be triangle DEF, because we have to keep everything consistent in our ratios. If this is ABC, then this is ABC. If this is DEF, then this has to be DEF. So let's go ahead and set that up into proportional or into equivalent fractions and solve it using cross multiplication. So ratios and fractions are very similar, and we can represent them simultaneously or kind of in conjunction with each other. So I can write this as 3/2 equals 14 over x. And now I can just cross multiply. 3 times x, 14 times 2. So I'm going to finish that problem down here. 3 times x is 3x. 14 times 2 is 28. And to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And x is going to equal 9.3 repeating, which means A is our answer. As I'm solving these problems, please don't hesitate to ask questions in the comment box. If you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer them as we're working through these problems. So don't hesitate to ask me any questions you might have in the comment box. Also, don't forget that you can get a copy of these blank problems using the link that I just posted. It's the same link I posted earlier, but for those of you who are just joining us, you can use that link to get a copy of all of these problems. I will not get through all the problems I had planned for today, but you can go ahead and solve them early and then join us next time to see if you solved them correctly. That's kind of a fun way to come to math night too. All right, let's keep going. It's another tax and price problem, which is perfect. I love doing problems that are similar together because it allows you to feel confident with that kind of problem. Omari went out to dinner with 4 friends. The bill before tax and tip cost $156.87. The tax applied to the bill was 7%. And they decided to leave a 22% tip after tax. If they decide to split the bill evenly, how much did each person spend? Whew, there's a lot of information in this problem. We know that Omari went to dinner with 4 friends. We have the bill of just like their food, their drink. Then they tell us that we have tax. Then they tell us we have tip. And then they split the bill evenly. So what do I need to do first? I need to find the amount of the bill. So let's come up with a plan. I need to find my tax and add it to the total bill. Then I need to find my tip and add it to that bill. Then I need to divide the bill by how many people? How many people am I going to divide this bill by? It's not going to be 4. Here's why. Because Omari went to dinner with 4 friends. It's not Omari included in that. It's Omari and his 4 friends. So we're going to divide the bill by 5. Excellent job, Vicki and Missy. I love that you caught that because not everybody does. So let's go ahead and start with the tax. $156.87 times 0.07 is going to give me my tax. I am going to use my calculator for this, but that does not mean that you get one. $156.87 times 0.07, not 0.7, is $10.98. And I'm going to add that to my $156.87. And that gives me $167.85. That's step 1. Again, I love to have a plan because it allows me to kind of figure out what I'm doing. So I finished the tax. Then they left a 22% tip. So now I need to take my $167.85 and multiply it by my 22% tip to figure out what they tipped the server. So $167.85 times 0.22 is going to give me $36.92 with a part of a cent. That is the tip. That's not what they're paying. That's not the total. That is the tip. So then we're going to add that to our total. And we get $204.77 with a partial cent. Immediately, someone is going to recognize that as one of the answer choices and choose D. But remember, we are not done yet. We have to now divide our bill by 5. So now I have to take this bill and divide it by 5 friends, which is going to give me $40.96, which is A. If I had divided it by 4 friends instead of 5 friends, I would have gotten $51.19 if I had divided it by 4. And you see that that's one of the answer choices. We have to make sure that we're interpreting the problem correctly, or we will get tripped up and they will have a trick answer choice in there for us. So make sure that we interpret that problem correctly so we don't get caught in their trap. All right, let's do, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more. So let's do this one. Write the equation in point slope form for a line that passes through the point -4, and is perpendicular to 3x minus 2y equals 12. For those of you who are familiar with point slope form and slope intercept form, you can automatically get rid of 2 of your answer choices right away. We can automatically get rid of A and B. Why is that? Because the question specifically asked for point slope form, and that is not point slope form. These are both written in slope intercept form. How do I know that? Well, let's differentiate between point slope and slope intercept form. Point slope form is literally a point and your slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, where m is your slope and x1 and y1 belong to your xy point. Slope intercept form is just that. It gives you a slope and an intercept. So it's y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Mathematicians really aren't that creative when they name things. Point slope form gives you a point and a slope. Slope intercept form gives you a slope and an intercept. Crazy, I know. So because both of these equations are written in slope intercept form, I can get rid of them automatically. Now let's go ahead and look at point slope form. So we know we're going to be operating with y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I need a point and I need a slope. Well, they gave us a point. They said the line passes through -4, 7. So I just need to plug in -4, 7 into my x and my y. Remember, your x comes first and then your y, because in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, your x comes first. So I'm going to go y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You notice that I kept this negative even though the 7 is positive, because the original equation is y minus y1. It's not y plus y1. So I'm literally going to write my x and my y. I wrote my x the way I know it, and it's -4. But a negative times a negative makes a positive. So there's my equation. Now, I can actually choose my answer at this point without knowing the slope of my line. Why? Because this says y plus 7 and x minus 4. And this says y minus 7 and x plus 4. So because of that, I can actually choose my answer without even figuring out my slope, which is kind of nuts. And it just lost connection again, and it's not even connecting to the computer. So there we go. I want to finish at least this problem with you guys. So because of that, I can actually cross off my other answer choice and just pick an answer. I highly encourage you, use your answer choices to help you. Don't just solve the problem all the way through just because you don't have, because you think you have to, you don't have to. You can actually choose your answer D right away. But if I needed to know my slope, because the answer choices didn't give it away, I would take my equation right here and put it into slope-intercept form. So 3x minus 2y equals 12. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, and I get -2y equals -3x plus 12. Divide both sides by -2, and I get y equals +3/2 x minus 6, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now, they asked us for the equation of a line perpendicular to this line. What does that mean? That means that my slopes are going to have a negative reciprocal. So if this is the slope of my perpendicular line, I know that the slope of the line we are looking for is going to be -2/3. I'm going to negate this and flip it upside down. Perpendicular slopes are negative reciprocals. I'm going to negate it and flip it. Does that make sense? So in this case, my answer is D by process of elimination, but now you know why. All right. Unfortunately, we were not able to finish all of the problems today, and next week we will not be meeting. Next week we will not be meeting because it's Thanksgiving. So there will be no Wednesday math next week. We will pick back up on December 1st. So all I ask that you do next week is enjoy the time with your family and friends. Enjoy the time off, and I will see you next week on December 1st. Stay tuned for a special message from Dr. A. He's going to come back on here in 1 minute and close us out. But like I said, we will not have Wednesday math next week. We will pick up on December 1st.
All right, so wasn't that an amazing session? Now, I know, depending on what exam you have to take, you're like, man, that was great, but she didn't address everything I needed. She focused on all different questions, and I just need elementary, or I just need middle school, I just need high school. Don't worry. Since you're still with us, I've got a special surprise for you. If you use the coupon code, all capital letters, SINK35, that's SINK 35. That will take off 35% off any of our prep courses on our website at the Learning Liaisons. It doesn't have to just be math. It could be anything that you need that we offer. And this is going to be an ongoing deal for you guys who attend these live sessions, because these are great. I'm sure Amy opened your eyes to some new concepts, some new ways to tackle problems, building that confidence. But this is just a smidget of your exam, the concepts on your test. So if you want the comprehensive view with the practice with Amy, with the practice test, with the lessons and the content review, we've got your back on our video boot camps, which all of them feature Amy Sink, your math specialist. So if you want to take advantage of that, the code is SINK35. You can use that at checkout on the learningliaisons.com website. And all that information is on our website as well, and on the bottom of the screen in this video. So we are here to help you. Once again, always remember, it's when you pass, not if you pass. Thank you for joining us again today, and hopefully we'll see you next week too. Talk to you soon.